Samuel L. Jackson stepped into Lumare, the most prestigious fine dining establishment in Beverly Hills, wearing a well-worn leather jacket over a signature Big Kahuna Burger t-shirt, dark jeans, and his customary aviator sunglasses. Even at 76, his presence carried an undeniable gravitas. The crystal chandeliers cast a warm golden glow over the polished marble floors and immaculate white-clothed tables. Well-heeled patrons in tailored tuxedos and flowing silk gowns looked up from their conversations, some murmuring in disbelief when they recognized Hollywood's esteemed icon through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, sleek Lamborghinis and Bentleys lined the valet drop-off. A few diners glanced up from their phones to catch a glimpse of the man who delivered unforgettably intense performances in countless films. A late spring breeze carried faint jasmine scents from nearby hedges, mingling with the aroma of expensive colognes and perfumes each time the door swung open. Beneath a swaying canopy of palm fronds, Jackson paused for a moment, closing his eyes and letting the hush of Lumare's anticipations settle in his chest. He'd come straight from a grueling 12-hour shoot on the outskirts of Los Angeles. Tonight wasn't about red carpets or camera lights. He wanted 4 courses of meticulously prepared dishes, a glass of something rare, and a brief respite before tomorrow's press junket in New York. Abigail, Lumare's head waiter, known for her fastidious pride in upholding an atmosphere of refined elegance, was polishing a decanter at the reception desk when she saw Jackson's arrival on the security monitors. Her face remained composed, but inside she thought, Samuel L. Jackson? Here? In that leather jacket? She placed the decanter down with deliberate care, smoothed the folds of her pristine uniform, and rose to greet him. Every strand of her hair was swept into a tight bun, and her posture radiated the confidence of someone who believed true sophistication was a right her patrons invariably deserved. She prided herself on knowing who truly belonged at Lumare, and who, in her mind, might not. When Jackson approached the reception desk, Abigail offered a measured, polite smile. Her mind raced. Does he even need a reservation? Can someone like him appreciate the Wagyu Rossini, or is he just another celebrity looking for a free show? She lifted her chin with a flicker of superiority. Good evening. Welcome to Lumare, she said smoothly. Do you have a reservation, Mr. Jackson tilted his head, meeting her eyes without flinching. Good evening. I don't have a reservation, but I'd like a table for one, please. His voice was that unmistakable baritone, rich, even, and somehow both warm and commanding. Abigail's gaze flickered down to his leather jacket and the bold print on his t-shirt, then back to his face. Lumare is an upscale establishment, she began, subtly skeptical. Are you certain you wish to dine with us this evening? We are nearly fully booked. Her implication was clear. A man dressed like that doesn't exactly scream fine dining. Jackson's lips curved into a slight amused smile. I appreciate your concern, he said politely, but I'll be fine. His tone carried quiet assurance. He'd learned long ago not to let assumptions dictate his sense of self. I'm looking forward to a peaceful meal. Abigail nodded curtly and tapped her tablet. Her eyes narrowed momentarily as she located one solitary table in a dimly lit corner, well away from the central dining room's grand chandelier. She straightened and turned. We have one table available, she said, her words laced with practiced politeness. Right this way. Jackson followed her through the maze of towering floral arrangements on gilded pedestals, under the cascade of light reflecting off crystal stemware. The main dining room was alive with soft murmurs, silverware clicking against plates, laughter hushed to an elegant hum, and servers gliding between tables carrying butter-poached lobster and saffron risotto. But instead of seating him in a place of honor, where other diners could marvel at his presence, Abigail guided him to a secluded nook along the perimeter, just where a line cook might momentarily peek out to see who had arrived. This corner should suit you, Abigail said, setting a menu on the small table with a quiet thud. I trust our selection will meet your expectations. She offered a curt, polite nod and swept away, her heels clicking crisply on the marble floor. Jackson settled into the leather banquette, taking in the surroundings. From his vantage point, he felt a faint draft and caught subtle scents of garlic, butter, and rosemary drifting from the nearby kitchen. On the table lay an ornate leather-bound menu: heirloom tomato gazpacho for $80, Maine lobster ravioli at $120, and the evening's pièce de resistance, Wagyu beef rossini for $420. A single white orchid rested in a crystal bud vase beneath the menu. From across the room, dim lighting set shadows dancing to the tune of a quiet jazz trio, a saxophonist, pianist, and stand-up bassist weaving their sultry rendition of Autumn Leaves through the air. Yet in Jackson's corner, the atmosphere felt cooler, as though his mere presence had shifted the energy. He recalled the many film sets where people had underestimated him, how early in his career he'd encountered producers who dismissed him as too brash or too outspoken, only to watch him command every scene. Tonight, that same dynamic unfolded. A man judged by his worn leather jacket and casual t-shirt, not by decades of cinematic mastery. A younger server named Marvin, quiet, keenly observant, and known for his genuine kindness, hovered nearby. Sensing a tension in the air, he leaned in slightly and whispered, "Still or sparkling water, sir?" His tone conveyed empathy. Jackson nodded, offering a grateful nod in return. "Still water, please," he replied. Marvin bowed slightly and retreated. Moments later, Abigail reappeared, holding a polished leather-bound wine list. Her arched eyebrows and confident posture exuded authority. Sliding it forward, she spoke softly yet pointedly. "Would you care for an introduction to our wine program, Mr. Jackson?" She tilted the list, gesturing with a perfectly manicured finger to the 2010 Chateau d'Yquem, $2,000 per bottle. "This pairs exquisitely with the Wagyu Rossini." Jackson raised an eyebrow, lips curving into a polite smile. "I'll have a glass of that, please." His tone suggested he was ordering water at a roadside cafe, unfazed by the price. Abigail's smile wavered for the briefest instant, replaced by an imperceptible flicker of disbelief. "He's not fazed by a $2,000 bottle?" She poured a single glass of the golden sweet wine, watching the liquid's amber hues swirl in the crystal. Setting it before him, she said, "I trust you will appreciate its bouquet," and then turned on her heel to attend another table. Jackson lifted the glass, inhaling notes of honeyed apricot, toasted walnuts, and subtle florals. He let the wine coat his tongue, tasting each layer meditatively. A small part of him relished the luxury. The larger part reveled in disarming prejudice through composure. He took a slow sip, closing his eyes as the flavor settled. Suddenly, a hush rippled through the central dining area. A woman in a sapphire gown whispered to her partner, "That's Samuel L. Jackson. Did you see how cool he is, ordering the Chateau d'Yquem like it's lemonade?" Her companion, a sharply dressed man in a charcoal gray suit, nodded. "Makes that head waiter look ridiculous." Near the entrance, a family of tourists halted mid-step. Their teenage son, clutching a camera phone, edged forward. "Excuse me, Mr. Jackson? Could I get a selfie?" he asked, voice trembling. Jackson set down his menu, nodding with an easy, gracious smile. "Sure thing, young man," he said gently. They snapped a photo, and the boy hurried back to his parents, wide-eyed and ecstatic. Abigail watched from a distance, lips pressed into a tight line. This is not how Lumari should be. She refused to let Jackson's warmth undermine her sense of control, so she lingered, fussing over wine labels at a nearby server station to stall her return to his table. 20 minutes elapsed. The jazz trio's set ended, transitioning from appetizers to entrees. Jackson placed his glass down, folded his menu, and scanned the server station. Marvin was restocking water carafes, his eyes meeting Jackson's briefly. An unspoken alliance. Across the room, Abigail approached with a silver tray bearing the Wagyu beef rossini, exquisite slices of marbled Japanese Wagyu, seared to a perfect, tender medium rare, resting atop a disc of black truffle pâté, drizzled with a velvety Madeira reduction and garnished with delicate microgreens. The plate looked like a work of modern art. She set it before Jackson with a soft clink of porcelain. "Here is your Wagyu Rossini," she announced, voice clipped. As she leaned in, her eyes flicked up, gauging his reaction. "This is one of our most exclusive offerings, Mr. Jackson. I trust you'll enjoy it." The subtle condescension lingered in the air. Jackson studied her with a measured gaze. "Thank you for the recommendation," he replied sincerely. He picked up his utensils, cut a bite, and let the flavors wash over him. Rich, buttery beef mingling with earthy truffle and the smooth sweetness of Madeira. He closed his eyes, acknowledging the craftsmanship behind each component. Around him, diners watched in polite silence. At a central table, a gentleman in a dark tie sipped his wine and whispered to his partner, "See how composed he is? That's a man who's earned every penny of what he's worth." His companion nodded, eyes still on Jackson. He commands the room without saying much. Abigail retreated, feigning urgency to take another order, but she lingered again, calling out the dessert options to a nearby table. "We have the Verona chocolate souffle or the Kansas Godiva cheesecake, both renowned." Her voice carried just enough to reach Jackson's corner, aiming to heighten his discomfort by prolonging her attention. Unfazed, Jackson finished his Wagyu slice, set the plate back on the table, and leaned back in his seat. The Parsons couple, seated near the jazz trio, whispered to each other. "She thinks she can intimidate him, but look at how unbothered he is." Their friend added, "I've never seen somebody handle a snub with such class." As the clock edged toward an hour since Jackson's arrival, Abigail finally appeared at his table. Her shoulders slumped ever so slightly, as though preparing to deliver something significant. She set down a single dessert plate without meeting his eyes. A cylindrical Verona chocolate souffle crowned with a swirl of creme anglaise and a dusting of powdered cacao. "Your dessert," she said crisply, then swept away without another word. Jackson regarded the souffle for a moment, lifting a small spoonful to his lips. The molten chocolate center spilled into the creamy vanilla sauce, a final flourish of decadence. He savored it slowly, then looked around. The room had fallen into a respectful hush. Abruptly, the restaurant manager, Mr. Thompson, emerged from the hallway at the back of the dining hall. Tall, composed, wearing a custom-tailored charcoal suit, he approached Jackson with purposeful strides under the chandelier's glow. "Mr. Jackson," he began, voice resonant and earnest, "it is our honor to have you dine with us tonight. On behalf of Lumare, I sincerely apologize for any earlier oversight or discourtesy." His eyes flicked toward Abigail, who now hovered a few feet away, flushed and uncertain. Jackson placed his spoon down and smiled warmly. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I came to enjoy your cuisine," he said evenly. "But I sensed a bit of confusion from your staff. You really can't judge someone by their jacket or their t-shirt." His tone was gracious, without a hint of anger. "That kind of assumption does more harm than you'd imagine." The dining room held its collective breath. Even the jazz trio had paused mid-note. The chandelier's light caught Jackson's face, illuminating a serene, almost regal expression. Mr. Thompson turned toward the assembled guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, Mr. Jackson is a cherished guest, and we are truly honored by his presence." He paused, letting his gaze travel across each table. "Lumare is defined not only by its cuisine, but by the hospitality we extend. Tonight, we failed to uphold that standard, and for that, I am deeply sorry." Abigail felt every eye on her. Her face burned with remorse. She stepped forward, head bowed. "Mr. Jackson," she murmured, voice trembling, "I judged you unfairly. I let appearances guide me instead of treating you with respect. I am ashamed of my behavior." Jackson rose from his seat, tall, dignified, every inch the Hollywood legend who'd spent decades in the trenches of an often cruel industry. "Abigail," he said warmly, "we all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them." He turned to Mr. Thompson. "If you'd allow me, I'd like to speak briefly with your staff after closing. This isn't just about me, it's about how we treat everyone." Mr. Thompson nodded decisively. "Absolutely. In 15 minutes, I'll gather the team in the kitchen." He turned back to the diners. "Thank you all for your patience and understanding. Please enjoy the rest of your evening." Jackson returned to his dessert, finishing the last spoonful of chocolate souffle. He then lifted his glass of dequim, sipping slowly, relishing the moment of calm reflection. The candlelight glinted off the crystal, illuminating a tranquil smile upon his face. Moments later, kitchen staff and servers assembled behind a service door. The tension in their eyes, anticipation, guilt, hope, mingled as they wondered how the man whose films had inspired generations would address them. Standing beneath a modest recessed light, Jackson regarded each team member in turn. Despite his age, his voice carried the same commanding presence it had decades earlier. I want to begin by thanking you all for the artistry and hard work you pour into these dishes every night, he said. But tonight, I wasn't just here to dine. This was about how we as people treat one another. A sous chef named Jorge cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson. I didn't realize my offhand comments in the kitchen contributed to the attitude out there. I'll do better. Jackson nodded. It's not one person's fault. We all play a role. If anyone feels unwelcome, we need to ask why. Here at Lumare, you serve more than meals. You serve experiences. Let's commit to making this place warm and inclusive. The pastry chef, Celeste, a petite woman with flour-dusted hands, stepped forward. Your words mean a lot. I was embarrassed to be here tonight, but inspired as well. I want to help change our culture. Jackson offered a small, encouraging smile. Thank you, Celeste. Remember, every time you greet a guest, you have the power to make them feel seen. That kindness lingers far longer than the taste of any dish. Mr. Thompson closed the gathering by outlining new protocols, implicit bias workshops, role rotations so each person learns the other's responsibilities, and designating a guest comfort ambassador on busy nights to ensure no one feels overlooked. The team nodded, visibly moved. As Jackson concluded his remarks, the staff broke into warm applause, ready to turn this painful lesson into positive action. Outside, the valet called for Jackson's matte black Range Rover. He walked through the now quiet dining hall, each table still set in flawless order, the crystal glasses twinkling under the chandelier's last remnants of light. At the front door, he paused for a moment, inhaling the cool night air that drifted in. Palm fronds swayed in the moonlit breeze, and distant traffic hummed like a soft concert. He allowed himself to simply be, no cameras, no expectations, just a man who had not only enjoyed a remarkable meal, but had also helped spark a transformative moment. As he slipped behind the wheel, his phone buzzed with unread notifications. Thousands of tweets had already trended under Nishar Jackson lesson. SLJ just schooled a restaurant, true legend off camera. You can't judge a book by its cover, straight from Sam Jackson. On Instagram stories, clips of his final remarks circulated. We serve more than meals. We serve experiences. Comments scrolled endlessly. Fire emojis, clapping hands, hearts. Mr. Luciano, Lumare's executive chef, had been monitoring the dining room through a small kitchen monitor. He'd watched Abigail hesitate, seen the tension ease when Jackson spoke. Now, back in the kitchen's warm glow, he addressed his brigade in a firm but hopeful voice. Last night, we witnessed culinary excellence and a lesson in true hospitality. We serve more than food. We serve people. Let's honor that every day. Abigail stood near the pastry station, trembling at the chef's words. Memories of her childhood, her parents urging her to pursue music, flooded her mind. She'd chosen hospitality, dreaming Lumare would cement her reputation as an arbiter of refinement. But tonight, that illusion had shattered. Turning to Chef Luciano, she spoke, voice wavering yet determined. Yes, chef, thank you for giving us the chance to improve. In the staff break room, servers sipped espresso while scrolling through their phones. Laura, a seasoned server with 2 decades of experience, showed her colleague a Twitter clip. Jackson's line, "You serve more than meals, you serve experiences." That hit me hard, she said. We've got to do better. No more hiding behind menus or expensive decor. Later that same night, Jackson returned home to his Beverly Hills residence. He peeled off his sunglasses and jacket, settling at his kitchen island before a muted television where late-night hosts debated the Lumare incident. One commentator declared, he didn't need to say motherfucker once, but his point was crystal clear. Jackson sipped water from a simple glass, reflecting on how a single dinner had grown into something much larger, an unexpected lesson in empathy, respect, and the real meaning of hospitality. The next morning, as Los Angeles awakened under a pale pink sunrise, Lumare's staff convened for a formal debrief led by Chef Luciano and Mr. Thompson. Tables were arranged in a semicircle beneath Edison bulbs, and a projector displayed screenshots of social media reactions. trending tweets, Instagram posts, even clips from national news. Chef Luciano began, "Last night's lesson was witnessed across the globe. We have a responsibility not only to serve the finest cuisine, but to honor each guest with genuine respect. From this moment forward, ongoing training, open dialogue, and immediate intervention must guide everything we do." Abigail rose to speak, her uniform crisp, but her expression humble. "I didn't realize how my assumptions hurt not just Mr. Jackson, but anyone who walked through those doors. I want to learn how to welcome each guest with open arms, without prejudice. I owe it to my colleagues, our patrons, and to Mr. Jackson himself." She paused, voice catching. "I'm committed to improving." Mr. Thompson nodded thoughtfully. "We will also establish a guest ambassador program on busy nights to ensure every patron feels comfortable. Let's remember, luxury is not measured by price tags. It's measured by the respect we give." Jackson's words, "You serve more than meals, you serve experiences," no longer belonged only to that moment in time. A week later, a prominent magazine's food critic published a cover story titled, "When Hollywood Met Humility, Jackson's Dining Intervention." The article detailed how Lumare's leadership embraced Jackson's challenge, instituted new training programs, and even shifted the dress code to welcome neat, stylish, casual attire alongside formal wear. Photographs captured staff laughing during bias workshops and practicing respectful greetings at the host stand, evidence of a transformed culture. The critic concluded, "Under Jackson's firm but gracious guidance, Lumare has redefined what fine dining truly means. The heart of a restaurant lies not only in its ingredients, but in the integrity of its service." On social media, hashtags like #RespectMotherfucker and #Lumare Reborn trended for days. Influencers reposted the critic's review, crediting Jackson's intervention as the push Lumare needed to become genuinely exceptional. Aspiring hospitality professionals nationwide shared their own stories of overcoming prejudice, inspired by Jackson's example. Months later, Jackson returned to Lumare, not in his usual leather jacket this time, but wearing a tailored blazer over a crisp collared shirt, still sporting his aviator sunglasses as a nod to his authentic self. This visit celebrated the appointment of Chef Elena as Lumare's new chef de cuisine. The central chandelier bathed the entrance in a welcoming glow as Jackson walked in, greeted by applause from staff and patrons alike. Chef Elena, her energy bright, her passion evident, embraced him warmly. "Welcome back, Mr. Jackson. It's an honor to have you here," she said. She led him to a central table draped in a navy blue runner adorned with white orchids. "We've prepared a special tasting menu in your honor this evening," she announced. Jackson nodded appreciatively. "I'm looking forward to it," he said. Course by course, heirloom tomato tart, Maine lobster ravioli, porcini-infused risotto, and finally a deconstructed Valhona chocolate sphere. He noticed the sincerity in every server's eye and the warmth behind each smile. The entire experience felt revitalized, a tapestry of flavors and genuine care, woven together by threads of respect and empathy. At neighboring tables, guests offered nods of recognition and gratitude, recalling the night Jackson had first imparted his lesson. After dessert, Jackson rose again, lifting a small glass of elderflower champagne. "To Lumare," he began, voice steady yet warm. "May this restaurant always be a place where every person feels valued, regardless of how they look or what they spend. Tonight, I see you've truly achieved something remarkable." Glasses clinked in unison. As guests stood and applauded, Jackson stepped outside onto the star-dappled sidewalk. He paused, inhaling the faint jasmine breeze that drifted through the night air. Memories of that first evening, the condescension he'd faced, the grace he'd offered, and the transformation he'd witnessed, swirled in his mind. He tapped the unlock button on his phone, opening his social media app to record a short message for fans. In the clip, he said, "What I learned at Lumare isn't just about a fancy dinner. It's about life. Never let someone's assumptions define you. Let's keep lifting each other up, one act of kindness at a time." He posted it with the hashtag #RespectMotherfucker, confident that the ripple would continue. As the valet guided his Range Rover onto the boulevard, Jackson looked back at Lumari's warmly lit facade, believing its glow would shine on a path of enduring kindness. If you enjoyed this story and want to be part of our journey sharing more inspiring tales, please subscribe to my channel. Your support allows us to continue creating content that uplifts and enlightens. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. We can't wait to see you in the next video.